Do you want to know how to discipline a child that talks back? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about back-talking. In this video, we're going to talk about when teens talk back, when toddlers talk back, and what to do when they all talk back. Teenager talkback and toddler talkback are still just talkback, but they do look a little bit different. In fact, it's probably more enticing to talk back to a teenager that talks back to you. Although maybe that toddler's so cute, you want to talk back to them when they talk back to you. Either way, we've got to be careful that we don't break one of the teaching self-government cardinal rules, which is don't ever talk back when they talk back to you. Do not. We describe, we don't talk back. So what do I mean by that? Let's say that I'm the parent and I say, no, you can't have a cookie. But the toddler says, but why? And then I say, well, because we're going to be having lunch. But why? Okay, that's the type of talkback you get from a toddler. But why? But why? But why? Because they want to know why. They really do. So a wise parent says, no, you can't have a cookie because we're going to be having a lunch. The toddler still might say, but why? But the toddler needs to know that is not the appropriate way to communicate. If they are accepting a no answer, which is one of our 4 basic skills, then they know they can say okay or ask to disagree appropriately. And back-talking is not disagreeing appropriately. So they need to be pre-taught about all of that. The 4 basic skills of self-government are following instructions, that's this book here, accepting no answers and criticism, that would be no for the cookie, that's this book here, accepting consequences, you can't learn self-government if you don't get the opportunity to accept your consequences, otherwise something is just done to you, and then you have someone to blame. And then this book here teaches disagreeing appropriately, which is something that the toddler needs to know if they're asking but why all of the time. So I'm going to teach my toddler these 4 basic skills, and that's going to take care of 99% of their behavioral problems. So let me explain. When a person accepts a no answer, they do 4 things. Each one of these skills has steps associated with it. So the 4 things that they do are look at the person or the situation, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, and then drop the subject. That means don't talk about it anymore. So either my child says, okay, may I disagree appropriately, or they just say, okay, and they don't talk about it anymore. But they don't keep coming back with the why. Now, if they're going to use the disagree appropriately skill, that's where they can ask their why. They can say, Mom, may I disagree appropriately? The answer to that is yes, you may. Then the child may say, Mom, I understand that you don't want me to have a cookie, but I haven't had one yet today and I really want one. Well, now Mom can decide, do I want my child to have a cookie or not? Truthfully, I would give the cookie. It's just a cookie. They're deciding to go front brain instead of stay midbrain where they could be whiny or out of control. They're going front brain. They're using their skills. I would show them that that works when at all possible. And for a cookie, oh yeah, there's milk and eggs and, you know, healthy chocolate in there or something. It's definitely worth it. But sometimes the answer might need to be no, and if the answer is no, either way they say okay and they drop the subject. After they've disagreed appropriately and asked why, or have explained their point of view, because maybe the toddler would just say, Mom, I know you don't want me to have a cookie, but why? Well, there's their disagree appropriately. Could you explain why? Okay, now I'm going to explain why. But they just need to know that when they ask those questions, that they need to do it in a way that is appropriate. If we allow our children, even toddler children, to talk back to us all the time, they get very entitled and controlling in their communications, and they start feeling like they should be able to control everything else around them. It is very important to maintain the roles in our relationships, which is actually why I wrote an entire book all about roles called Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success. Because if our roles are not maintained within the family unit, then everything starts to fall apart. Now we're gonna get into the teens, but before, have you subscribed to this channel yet? There's a lot of things on here related to self-government you're not gonna wanna miss. So let's talk about the teens. What if the teens are the ones who are talking back to you? They need to learn how to accept a no answer and disagree appropriately too. That doesn't mean you have to read them these skills necessarily. The skills to the 4 basic skills are also taught in this book here, which is Parenting a House United. They could read this book with you. You could read this book and do the teaching. There's also courses and trainings that you can do with them so that they learn the skills and principles of self-government as well. This is the main piece for the parents. You're going to want this for all of your parent skills. And just a little tip for you, if you get this book, the skills are all talked about in about 3/4 of the way through. The book is where it gets to all of the skill sets. A lot of the other principles, tone elements, and other structural things that you need for your family are talked about earlier on to help develop the relationships. So what might it look like for the teen? When a mom says to a teen, no, you can't go to the party, a teen might say, but Mom, why don't I ever get to go? That's called backtalking. Or if a parent says to their teen, I need you to do your dishes, but it's not my turn, says the teen. Those are all backtalking, and they can be handled with the same exact skills that the toddler uses. Either the teenager follows instructions or disagrees appropriately, or accepts the no answer or disagrees appropriately, or doesn't, and then they're corrected. So all of these skills need to be pre-taught ahead of time, but we also need to pre-teach our children, no matter their age, how we will correct them, what negative consequence they will earn, and exactly what to expect when a correction happens. So in my family, whether it was my own biological children or my foster children that I was doing therapeutic treatment care for, they knew exactly how I would correct them. They knew the exact words that I would say to them whenever I would do a correction, and they would know what negative consequence they would earn as well. They always got the opportunity to earn an extra chore because work is the antidote for a sick character. So what words did I say to them? Well, that brings us into our correction skill. When you correct a child, you start with a description. So instead of talking back, remember that's cardinal rule number 1. We do not talk back. Actually, we should probably call that cardinal rule number 2, because cardinal rule number 1 is do not talk to anybody or do any teaching or correcting unless you are calm as a parent. Number 1. So get yourself calm first. Number 2, don't talk back to them when they are talking back to you. Don't show them that that is the way that you are going to communicate. If you ever do, then they will keep trying it. They need to learn how to address you appropriately. If they don't, you're going to describe what happened. Oh, right now, or just now, you usually do a timestamp, you just talked back. That is not accepting a no answer. You did not say okay or disagree appropriately, because that's one of the steps. The steps to accepting a no answer, remember, are looking at the person, calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, and then drop the subject. So I'm pointing out that they did not do saying okay or disagreeing appropriately. So then I say, what you should have done was ask to disagree appropriately, and I would have listened to anything that you needed to say. Since you chose not to do that, you have earned an extra chore. So I've given them what they did wrong, what they did right, why it would have been a good idea to do it the right way, and then told them what negative consequence they have earned. Then I'm going to go into a pre-teach as part of that correction. So we're going to practice the same situation again the right way, do some other cued practices to remind them how to disagree appropriately in those circumstances, and I'm probably going to show them how well disagree appropriately works. It is so important to do these corrections, to give the child an opportunity to go through this learning process and even to earn that extra chore, check back, get praised for it, and get the opportunity to accept their consequences. When a person is corrected like this and learns to accept their consequences, then they feel so much more empowered. I know it seems weird to think that correcting a child could be empowering, but it is, because it's just a learning moment. When you're teaching your child something new, a way that works instead of using the way that doesn't work, that should feel liberating for them, and it will. For many, many years, parents have struggled and fought against their children, power struggling back and forth, simply because they don't have the tools that they need for success. There is a video that is on this channel that I highly recommend you go to next. It will give you a great overview of a lot of the things that I've been talking about here and more. It is a full-length class about self-government, and it is called The Not-So-Known Secret for Parenting Success. Click on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.